Here. Sorry, I'm just coming on, just popping up into your lives here. I was having some issues with Instagram this morning, so I couldn't announce when I was coming on, but I just wanted to pop on real quick and talk to you a little bit because it's July. I'm sure you're aware. I had this realization this weekend. Holy moly, we're in the middle of July. If you have any plans to take the exam this November, it is like right around the corner. So I had this realization this weekend because I decided I'm not taking the CHT again, but I know people who are. And so, crazy me, I decided to sign up for this half marathon, even though I haven't been running for a hot minute. It's been years since I have done any running. And I figured, like, let me get myself into this mental space like a lot of my students are, right? So I was just thinking about it this weekend. I said, holy moly, November is right around the corner. If you are considering taking, if you're preparing, well, let's face it, if you're preparing for the November exam, it's right around the corner. Ask yourself, what are you actually really currently doing to prepare for it, right? If you have failed in the past, let's say you just took it and you failed in May, what are you currently doing to take the exam again? And this time to be better prepared. One thing that I always sort of pay attention to are like trends and I've always said this, just about everything falls on a bell curve, right? Everything falls on a bell curve. Um, there's a certain amount of, obviously with the exam, there's a certain amount of people who pass and there's a certain amount of people who fail. From the certain amount of people who fail, we can even chunk that up into like a certain amount. How many of you actually really studied, right? I know people who failed and they'll tell me, like, I really didn't study. Some people tell me they failed because they had major life events to come up and they couldn't, they thought they studied, but there was too much stress, there was too much, other things going on that at the end of the day they didn't have like their brain into it. You know what I mean? So, one of the things that I always talk about is like take the exam again. The career that we've picked, right, for the most of us, we're an OT. I spent a lot of money becoming an OT, right? And this was like over 20 years ago. So I can't even imagine like people coming out of school now. It's a burden. The cost of college is and can be a burden. Um, but honestly, I don't see myself doing anything else. And I mean, granted, I have some experience, over 20 years of experience. So I've had this opportunity to grow my skills and I think that, as just as our career as an OT, as a soon to be hand therapist, as a soon to be certified hand therapist is really like a marathon and it's not a sprint. Though, it does take a certain amount of time to build up this body of work. But when we think about like little segments or little phases that we're in, when you're studying for the CHT exam, it's you want to develop a certain cadence of studying. And one of the things that I usually recommend is, you have a certain amount of time where you're going from, an intense studying, intense review is a lot of times what I call it. If you've been studying for a while, and you just gotta dive in right before the exam. So the November exam is right here. What are you gonna do to prepare? And we're right now in the intensity of it. I'm about to start the hand exam prep program. Our intense portion, which is going to start August 2nd. And that gives us essentially 12 weeks, 3 months, and it fits right before the exam starts. So if you guys are taking it, whether you're in the program or not in the program, you can follow along. Because really, in this intense period, you have 3 months, and the time goes by really fast. And you have to have a really good cadence of your studying, right? And right now, if you're struggling to stay motivated to study for the CHT, I'm going to give you 3 tips that will keep you motivated. But really, at the end of the day, it's not about the motivation, but it's really about building those habits. Build those habits, and you won't need to be motivated, right? Build those habits, and you won't need to be motivated to study because, as long as it's easy for me to say, I understand. Part of it's enjoying the journey that you're on. Not just like, oh, just getting to the very end. Enjoy the journey that you're on because honestly, as you're studying, you can really connect the dots of a lot of things that you're studying into what you're able to apply for your patients, to your patients, so that you're getting results better and better and faster and faster. There's majority of the time, there's no therapist that I've ever worked with that says, and if they are like, like I don't really, like they don't care about their patients, they don't care about getting better, then they're not going for their CHT. Am I right here? They're not going for their CHT. They're not going to put the effort in. And I think that for majority of the therapists that work in hand therapy, they want to put the effort in to be really good, to be the best in their area, to have and garner a certain amount of respect, that they have the skills that they could treat certain types of patient, whether you're post-surgical patients. The OTs are known for, CHTs are known for treating a lot of the post-surgical cases, the complex cases. But really, if you think about complex cases, you think about complex cases as chronic pain cases as well. And a lot of those people need so much help. Chronic hand and wrist problems, for sure, all day, every day. Nerve problems, absolutely. Right? So how do you stay motivated? And I've often talked about the cadence of how you want to go into this intense review, where you're just making sure that you're moving along in your topic of study, right? So last time I talked about like chunking things down and utilizing, how to read and how to go through the topics in a manner that's going to help you go through it faster. And I just wanted to make sure I brought in the book, and I wanted to show you exactly what I mean. Let's see. Let me pick I always skip the first 4 chapters, believe it or not. I always skip the first 4 chapters and then come back to it because it's so dry and dense that sometimes if you start there, you might give up, right? But let's say we're going over clinical examination of the hand. So if you guys have been doing hands for a while, you might be able to skim this area. But let's say, for example, if you don't have a ton of experience in hands, right? You have limited years of experience in hand. You have limited clinical experience in hands. Let's say you're doing a lot of upper extremity, but maybe you're working with a geriatric population. Maybe you're working with a neuro population. Maybe you're working with a peds population. And it's not your typical, outpatient ortho hand. Really review this because you just never know what you're gonna kind of miss here. But you look at your chapter and you give yourself that one thing to do, right? So if I look at this chapter, I'm flipping through it, it's 46 to 60, right? There's so many pages. I look at the critical points. So I look at the outline. I read the outline. Just skim over, read the outline, and look at the critical points. Look at the critical points to say, okay, what do I really need to know about this? And then you could break it down into these chapters. Look at the pictures, take notes, right? But you want to be able to move through this much faster. If you're taking the November exam, I hope that you've already gone through that chapter. And right now, you're reviewing everything and saying, okay, what is it that I'm not actually understanding fully? What things can I be missing, right? So it's easy to get started. It's easy to buy this book. It's easy to say you're going to get started into studying. The hardest thing really is about keep going, right? So like I said, just using my example right now, because I've signed up for this half marathon, and it blows my mind sometimes. I'm like, holy crap, it's around the corner, and I haven't really worked out a ton. I have not been working out a ton. I've been putting work first, right? Between the clinic and the program, so I've been putting a lot of other things first. But I had told myself this year that I was going to make like fitness and health a priority of mine, and I need to do it. I'm here at the half the year mark, and I haven't really been as consistent as I want it to be. So it's easy to get started. How are you going to keep going? How are you going to keep going to make sure that you get to your destination, get to where you said you wanted to be, which is to take the exam, right? Don't put the pressure on you about passing. Everyone does it, I know it. But the more flexible you can be in your ability to think through things, like I'm you know I just want to get to the destination of taking an exam. Give yourself a little bit of flexibility, and you would be amazed at how much better you might do, right? So my three tips in order to keep yourself going, I'm just going to go through them really quick, and then I'm going to explain a little bit. Number one is to really just keep it simple, right? Number two is to be firm. Um, Number two is to be nice but firm to yourself. And then number three is really to have an accountability partner, right? So when I say keeping it simple, go back to that last video where I talk about chunking up the chapters. It's keeping it simple. When you go and you start thinking, oh my God, I need to go and cover all of the parts and all of the chapters and all of these concepts, you've just now made it so much harder for yourself that it's hard to keep that habit of studying. And I'm going to tell you right now, there's a lot of people who want to become certified hand therapists not taking on the the studying that they need to do in order to even feel prepared to sit for the exam, right? So keep it simple. Define what you're going to do for that day. Start off doing it daily. So sometimes we were like, oh yeah, I'm just going to study these 3 days. But one of the most simple ways of just getting yourself going is say, I'm going to do this every day, but I'm going to do it in small chunks, right? I'm just going to do 30 minutes an hour. And then you get yourself back going, right? I could sit there and say, I'm going to go to the gym, I'm going to hit it, and I'm going to run. Like, I need to be running like at least 5 miles right now. I can't even walk 2 miles. So, but if I give myself so big of a challenge, I will demotivate myself. And I know that this is actual human behavior. So if you can simplify your life, you can simplify how you're studying down to the chapters of just saying, I'm going to simplify the chapters. I'm going to simplify the topic. I'm going to simplify the resources. You will go so much further, so much faster, right? So just keep it really, really simple. And then, part of keeping it simple is you have patience, right? You should be a practicing occupational therapist. You should be a practicing physical therapist if you want to study and work in hand therapy. You've got someone to practice on. Utilize those people to practice, because the biggest thing about the exam isn't just about memorizing. It's actually providing a treatment that is effective, that will give patients results. And the exam is all about how can you critically think through a particular problem so that you know what to do, right? So think about how you can keep it really simple. If you've fallen off of the track, so I'm the first one to admit it. I was going, when did I sign up for the half marathon? I think I signed up like a month and a half ago. Let's say it's 2 months. I was doing really well with giving myself very simple daily things. I just needed to hit the gym for a short, like 30 minutes. I just needed to hit the gym for 3 times a week for 30 minutes. On the days that I was not hitting the gym, I needed to do one exercise. One exercise. That's all I was given. I started out really simple, and then I was able to build up my schedule. And then what happened? I went on vacation. And even on vacation, I stayed working out, right? I stayed working out. And then I had a business trip. And even on that business trip, I stayed working out. I went walking on the beach. The rain came and I ran. So that's the only time I ran. I'm just being honest with you. It happens to the best of us. It happens to every single person. If you feel alone, please understand that everyone feels the same way. You are not alone. Whether you are starting out in hand therapy and trying to get motivated to do everything that you say you want to do, or you're studying for the exam, I can tell you right now, I do it not just from a working out perspective, from a business perspective. Running 2 businesses, it's a lot. And it's so much about the habit and not just the motivation, right? Um, but I was gone. I came back. Even though I worked out, totally fell off. For a whole week, couldn't get myself to get up on time. Normally, I'm a very early riser, and doesn't matter what time I go to sleep, I can still get up early and go do the things I need. And I try to catch up on the sleep, and the next day I'll just go to bed earlier, right? Couldn't do it a whole week. And then I went out of town again this weekend. I mean, it's just like, but because I've been doing so many different things, I sort of fell off track, because once I got to work, I felt like I was so behind. I was so busy with trying to get everything done and all the things that needed to be done, that I just, that was the first thing. The first thing that you will drop off is the thing that you don't want to do, right? And the thing that nobody else like really wants to do is to dive into the rehab of the hand, because it's a little stressful, right? So just try to keep your life simple. Try to keep certain things simple to get back into it, because November is not that far away, right? Number 2, be firm, but be forgiving. So the words that you use and the things that you say to yourself really matter. I used to say a lot of things to myself. I don't know why, but I always just felt like I wasn't very smart, right? That I'm not a very good test taker. That I can't memorize things. Some people have like this photographic memory. Actually, my best friend has it, and she can read something and just like pick things up. And I'm a little bit of a, much more of a slower learner. And this is why I've developed what I've developed, because I had a feeling that there were people out there that were like me, that needed a different way of learning, a different way of understanding concepts. Just, sometimes if your brain works differently, that's okay. It's not good or wrong. It's not good or bad. It's not right or wrong. It's just, can you do the thing that you said you wanted to do? Confidence builds up from staying true to yourself. Confidence builds up from doing the things that you say you're going to do, right? And when you say you're going to study, then study. I think that sometimes when we are working with our patients, like, let's tie it back to patients, right? Let's say you have let me give you an example. We had a very successful case that was a finger fracture and dislocation. Now, one of the things that I always say about finger fractures and dislocations are they're some of the hardest injuries that you're going to work with. Fractures are one thing, dislocations are another. But when you have a fracture dislocation, it can be quite the struggle. And for the PIP is always a problem child, right? So you can break the PIP, and we have collateral ligaments on the PIP that is just tight in both directions, both in flexion and in extension, and they're always tight. So it's one of the reasons that, man, those PIPs don't like to move. There's tons of structures. If you review the anatomy of the PIP, not only do you have your bone components, right, the joint components, you have your ligaments laterally, and then volarly on this side, you have your tendons, you have your superficialis that goes there, you have the profundus that passes by, you have your volar plate that sits there, which is a ligament that holds everything together. And then you have on the dorsal side your extensor tendon mechanism and all that go with the extensor tendon mechanism, which are your central tendon, your lateral band, so many structures. And so when we were working with her, we set an expectation of like, listen, I need you, in order to get the best possible results, right? In order to get the best possible results, I'm going to need to see you 3 times a week, right? And then once we start to see some progress and you feel like you can do more on your own, then we can scale back to twice a week. But at the beginning, we're going to need to do 3 times a week. Now, it's my experience that cases like this can take between 2 and 3 months, right? Depending on how consistent you are with coming into therapy, how consistent you are with doing the therapy that you need to do on your own. And here are some of the challenges and things that we're looking for. But because we're able to lay it out, for her, and then we can show a little bit of progress at a time. And she came religious. She never changed. She never canceled her appointment. She came 3 times a week, even if she had to move her appointments here and there. She was able to, make sure she was coming in. And as we slowly improved her pain, as we slowly improved her range of motion and stuff like that, it just gave her more and more confidence that therapy actually works. Done in the right way, in the right order, actually really works. And so she was firm. I was firm with her, right? So think about how that translates to you. If you set yourself a goal and you actually did the things that you said you were going to do, how much more confident would you feel about it? How much more confident would you feel about your progress, right? And one thing that you guys know, if you're working in hands, is that when people injure themselves, they feel really bad, right? Not only does a body part feel bad, but they themselves feel bad. Like, this is shit. Like, this was so stupid. How did I do this to myself? But accidents are accidents, right? So in a way, we as therapists, we want to show up a certain way and be like, it's okay. Forgive yourself. It is, accidents are accidents. And in a way, you have to show up for yourself and say those nice words to yourself. Be forgiving to yourself and say, okay, it's okay that you didn't study last week. What changes are we going to make this week to make it more impactful? How can we keep it simple, but how can I stay true and firm to myself that I'm going to do the thing that I need to do, right? And part of it's being realistic. Be realistic with the expectations that you're setting for yourself, the plan that you have set for yourself. Be realistic with that so that you can be forgiving but firm to yourself. All right. You're using these tips for the OT exam. Very good. I'm glad that you can. Awesome. I hope this helps. If this helps you, feel free to share this. Feel free to save this. So that you can use it, right? So keep it simple, forgive but firm to yourself. And the last one is really to have an accountability partner. You don't have to study with someone to have an accountability partner. It could be someone who is a friend of, your spouse that just holds you firm to what you said. When I was when I was studying for the exam, I just told my husband, like, listen, because I didn't have programs like this. I wish there was a hand exam prep program for when I was studying. It would have made, my life easier, faster, less frustrating, more enjoyable. It can be very challenging now in these times where everyone's so busy. Nobody can you really give you the time and attention you need to explain certain concepts, to reassure you, to go over the things that you need to go over so that you can feel really good about being prepared to take the exam. I always say it's like it's an extra set of eyeballs. I tell this to my patients when they come in. Yes, of course, they can do stuff on their own all the time, right? How much is YouTube available? Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. I mean, freaking TikTok is putting stuff out in 15 seconds. Who's going to actually know what to do in those times, right? Like in the short time frame. This is a long game. This is not a 15-second TikTok that you're going to learn what you need to do, right? But patients, they're coming in, watching certain things, going to YouTube, getting free things. But really at the end of the day, when they're not able to, they need the extra set of eyeballs to kind of, one, to hold them accountable, but two, to let them know, are you doing it correctly? I don't know how many times I'll tell patients, like, when you come in, I can look to see, are you doing it correctly? I can make sure that you're focused on the thing that you need to be focused on versus thinking like, one of the things that I always talk about when we're working with patients that have tendonitis types of issues, if they're very loosey-goosey, right? If they're very limber, loose jointed, more stretching may not help them. More stretching may not help them, but you're watching every single video that says, go stretch and go stretch. And then guess what? It never helps. Having a second set of eyeballs to really hone in on what you actually need will save you time, heartache, and money in the end, right? And that's what we tell our patients. Studying for the exam really is no different. Having an accountability partner to hold you accountable, to help you to stay focused, is key. Now, you can have it from a friend, you can have it from a partner. One thing that I had my husband do, and I still have him do something, don't let me get out of it. No matter what I say, don't let me get out of it. You gotta force me. You gotta make me do it. And I don't know if you've noticed, but I've got a strong personality. So I'm like, what? What? You're gonna tell me what to do? And then he'll be like, yeah, you told me. Like, so go get your butt up, stop laying around and go study. He doesn't need to study with me to hold me accountable, right? But you've just got to be able to have someone who says, like, hey, what are you doing? Are you studying? And in the program, it's not just that, but it's, we're about to get started August 2nd. So one of the things that I'm doing for this cohort is, if you're studying for the November exam, you start noticing you need help to prepare to get to that November exam, this is the best time to apply for the hand exam prep program. If you have failed in May and you're wondering, should I take it? Absolutely, 100% take it right now. Take it in November. It's the best time. But don't do the same exact thing that you've been doing. You might need to tweak your process just a little. Don't change everything, but you might need to tweak it just enough. That's what I spent the last 2 weeks doing, is getting on calls with some of my members who didn't pass. I got on calls with other people who have not been in the program, but have failed, and said, okay, what do I need to do now? Get on a call. Let's do a strategy. Let's do a call. I go over a score audit. And I just tweak the program to ensure that you're focused on where you need to be focused. I'm telling you right now, sometimes we think we're doing the right thing, but we can get off track. How many times does that happen with your patients? You show them one exercise. You say, this is the one exercise I know works every single time. Tendon glides, right? When you do tendon glides, and in a hook fist, if you're doing any kind of exercise like blocking, that will help reduce their pain, it will help to glide that tendon, whatever the injury is, right? And then they come in, they're like, I've been making a fist all day. So sometimes having someone help to make sure that there's a certain amount of structure and focus will help you get to the finish line, help you be prepared, and help you make the small incremental improvements that you need to make in order to get your score to 75, right? That's an accountability partner. That's about being in the hand exam prep program. So if that sounds like you need some of that help, now is the best time to apply for that program. Closing August 2nd. I'm about to get started with my current group, and I just want to make sure I put all my focus into helping everyone, prepare for the exam and pass, right? If you're studying for May of 2023 and you need time, the best time is to join right now, right? So apply for that program. But at the end of the day, no matter if you're in the program or you're not in the program, if you're struggling to stay motivated to study, if you're struggling to stay motivated to keep improving your skills, to keep improving your knowledge, it isn't just going to be about motivation. It's going to be about building really good habits that will help you get to your destination, right? And the other thing is, really, at the end of the day, you've got to enjoy your journey. You've got to have fun. You have to have a good time, and you want to enjoy it, because if you don't enjoy it, what the hell is the point? What is the point, right? It's supposed to be hard, but you want to enjoy it at the same time, right? Because if it was easy, everyone would be doing it. And then if everyone was doing it, nobody would want it. Right? It's a conundrum of life. What can I tell you? It's a conundrum of life. So I hope that helps you in terms of staying motivated, knowing just, one of the biggest, number one thing, and this is the reason why I say, just keep it simple. Keep it simple. Number two is to say nice things to yourself, but be firm, right? Don't just be nice, just, oh yeah, you're good. It's like, you're good, but let's step it up. You're good, but let's keep with our goal and with our plan. And then having someone to hold you accountable, give you that structure, keep you focused, is going to be key to making sure that you get where you need to go. All right? So I hope that helps. Use these tools, save this video, and then the next time I'm going to come on, I'm actually going to go and break down the blueprint of the HTCC, right? There's a blueprint they talk about, and I think I've talked about it before, but I'm going to talk about it again. I'm going to give really clear examples in terms of, let's talk about I don't know. I'm gonna take a vote. I'm gonna take a vote on Instagram what topic we talk about. So I'm gonna pull in the blueprint that they talk about, so that you can make sure that you're focused. And then I'm gonna use a key example, whether we talk about wrist injuries, which we're talking about this whole month in the hand therapy mentorship, or we'll talk about hand fractures. So I'm gonna take a poll on Instagram, and then that way I can use the blueprint and give an example of how essentially I teach everyone inside the hand exam prep program to prepare in a way that helps them be able to think through any case that they have come in, right? It's the same if you're taking the exam, being able to critically think through any of the exam questions is the same as if you are able to critically think through any kind of case that comes your way in a clinic. Because sometimes you just never know what you're going to get. Life is like a box of chocolates. Therapy is like a box of chocolates. You just never know what you're going to get. So I hope that helps. And I will let you know on Instagram when the next live is going to be and what topic we're going to talk about. All right. Thanks so much for joining me. Like and share this, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.